Rachel. She had survived. Enraged by the slaughter, she had decided to hunt Crowley down, leading her to discover that he owned a castle by the coast. Our reunion was brief. I was to go onward while Rachel pursued a different path.
Oh my god, we're back again. We broke out of the hospital in the first place because we foresaw that Rachel was in danger. We had to go save her, and she ended up saving us. All those past few levels, completely pointless. But we found out that Crowley has a big old castle, and we're storming it. And we're meeting a new monster type. Oh, a guy with a scythe. Not a farmer. What are we gonna do? The farmer is identical to the zombies. It's just another zombie. There is exactly one difference, which is not the weapon. It has nothing to do with the scythe. Ignore the scythe. The thing about these things is they still have an interruption attack when they have one arm left. So you have to cut off both arms to make them harmless. I just sort of did that by default with the other zombies, but now I have to do it. It's not any more difficult to do that, but I'm now required to do it. Functionally, they're just more zombies, but they look kind of neat. So we're clearly not at the castle. In fact, I don't know how we ended up just at this weird dead end. We climbed over the gate and then decided to start the level. Crowley's got a little graveyard where he buried one of his zombies for some reason. And now we're gonna kill it. Crowley did a lot of weird stuff here in his own private hell world. I really enjoy blaming the bizarre, nonsensical design decisions in this game on Crowley. Because, I mean, really, they're just some fairly inept game developer just throwing an idea at the wall and no one told him to stop. But in canon, Crowley just went berserk. Just threw random stuff all over the entire world. Had absolutely no idea what he was doing or why. Non-stop nonsense for 100 years with this guy. And if you recall, a big plot point is that Crowley is trying to summon the entity so that he can fuse with it. And his reason for doing so is a desire to become immortal. Crowley is 299 years old right now. He's immortal. I guess he'll be more powerful if he fuses with an outer god. But, really, he doesn't have too much to worry about. He can't seem to die. This zombie is giving me a shockingly hard time. That was unexpected. But we made it through. For some reason it was reaching through this gate. Really wants to read that book. But that book is just for me. And I am also not going to read it. I'm going to get over to that tunnel over there. Because Wallace has a pretty good vertical leap. We should be able to make it. Oh, tragic. First time I played this, I was certain we'd have to go over to that tunnel, because it looks like the way to go. But even if you make that jump properly, you can sort of land on the other side of the bridge, but you cannot get into the tunnel. It has an invisible wall over it. Anyway, a new item type is down here. I mentioned there was an item with Gory in the title. The item we just grabbed is named the Gory Ultrasound. Gross. But we also had an item that summoned, summoned nothing. It was a little skull with a blue aura. And when we used it, it froze a nearby enemy. That item was called the Gory Spirit. So in my mind, we've just got a little friend named Gory. We meet them every so often, and they help us out. So we've got one Gory in our inventory. And one key, courtesy of that underwater chest. Which you damn well better find if you play this game, because it is not optional. But we did find it, so on we go. Time for some underwater combat, looks like. Because that thing is coming our way. That eyeless dinosaur. Yeah, it's not here. It's not anywhere. I don't know what that cutscene was, but it was not relevant to the game. Like they designed a whole new monster. You can't fight it. There's no underwater combat controls in this game. It simply warped itself out of existence. I envy it. So let's see. I think this is not the way to go. I'm not going to go this way. I am going to get some air. This section is criminal with the backtracking. A lot of traps, and with the slow movement and the underwater thing going on, it's exceptionally rude. So we got tentacles, and this, I do believe, is the correct way to go. Yep, our key goes right here. And what lies within? Some corpses. And a tad man. Half man, half tadpole. We have virtually no HP. So I have a feeling as soon as I get up there, it's gonna kill me. Yep, no surprise there. I attempted to push it down and go get that blood bag. Didn't work. But we can now have a rematch with full health. Here I come, Tadman. So this is an optional opponent, but a very formidable opponent. For one thing, we can't chop off anything from it. It is a singular hole, and it will not be... I guess we will get an arm off of it, never mind. Don't listen to me. But it's very fast, has a whole bunch of attacks. That tail whip can hit you while you're down. And when you kill it, another one appears. So that is what the blood bag is for. But what I could do is just go into exploration mode like I've done, and go get the bolt cutters, because we're just here for bolt cutters. But yeah, this thing has a bunch of combos. Once it gets its automatic retaliation hit in, it just keeps on hitting you over and over and over. Should have it now. There we go. And just one respawn on those. Now they're gone. And we're safe. They're bolt cutters. And backtrack to that one detour I took that I said was not the correct way to go. Because it has a door that is locked with bolt cutters. Back up there is another Gory Ultrasound. Didn't show that off. Lost it when I died, so gotta go get the new one. And hopefully not die before I get to show that off. There is a lot of optional combat in this level, and I'm going to skip all of it except for that one that we just went through, because there's only one of those Tadmen in this level. Had to give him a fair spotlight. But now we head back. There we go. This'll waste just a ton of your time if you don't intuit the correct way to do this, which is the middle optional route, then the first optional route, then the final. Just to get this one little chain. We could squeeze through there. Our character is absurdly skinny, but he refuses. I was really hoping there would be some blood back here. Some blood that wasn't spilled all over this bench. But no. But we got a bullet. And off we go. There was a little platform right on the edge, right as I was leaping off there. Wanted to make sure it wasn't anything, and indeed, it wasn't anything. Tentacles are super easy to avoid. Also, you can swim through them. They only have the ability to injure you right at the very tip. And even then, most of the time, they just won't do it. They're pretty harmless. There's also these, I think they're supposed to be mines. They remind me of depth charges anyway. But they don't serve too much of a purpose. Kinda wish I hadn't shot that one zombie. Oh, but we do have the Gory Ultrasound. So, I guess I will show off the Gory Ultrasound. I'm only gonna do it once, because it's a bad item, and the visual effect on the screen is really, really just terrible. So I'm gonna recommend you look away, because you don't want to see me get snapped in half. Yeah. That tone means that you can look back at your screen. And if you did continue watching, I'm sorry. I was inevitably going to die anyway, and the Gory Ultrasound, for one thing, it's not gory. It doesn't have any real gore effects associated with it, and it only does like 1/8 of an enemy's health. It's the worst item we've found so far, which is bizarre because we've found it so late in the game. We've been playing for hours and we've found exclusively better items than that so far. Here's the first place you can get it, and it sucks. And I'm going the wrong way. But we will be right back where we left off very soon. So, in the downtime since the last episode, looked up Callisto's gameography. Just out of curiosity. Pretty sure I did that when I LP'd the first game as well, but I didn't talk about it too much. So, shortly before the first Nightmare Creatures, they made a game called Dark Earth. Pretty sure I'm getting that right. That was one of their greatest commercial successes, except in America, where it was a complete flop. But worldwide, it sold 500,000 units within like a year. And it was up against Diablo for Best RPG of the Year at all the various game awards. It was very well received. They started working on the Amiga Most of their early games were Amiga games. The most notable of which is Fury of the Furries. That's a title you couldn't use today. Although if you did, I'd probably buy it. But apparently that's a relatively successful Amiga game. It doesn't look very fun. I've watched videos of gameplay from that. So we need a key to go over here. Remember that, because we don't have that key yet. Also, I suspect that we could have used the key from the submerged chest. Just popped it in this gate. Gone on our way without that fetch quest. But we would have missed 2 optional areas. My first time through this game, through this level, I thought the tadpole man was the underwater dinosaur that they threatened us with. But that's obviously not the case. Very different character model. So I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, Nightmare Creatures and Nightmare Creatures 2. Not their only PlayStation offerings. In between those games, they released an adaptation of the film The Fifth Element as a game. I'm getting killed left and right here. But as you can imagine, a PS1 video game adaptation of a movie that absolutely was not begging for an action game to be based upon it. It's really, really bad. I don't have too much to say about it, except that there is a very good Let's Play of it already out there. And I'll link it in the video description. And at the end of this video, it's the only Callisto game that really has any relevance to the Nightmare Creatures series. Because it was done in the Nightmare Creatures engine. It really does look and feel like a Nightmare Creatures 1.5 in every way except for plot. Because the plot is about Corbin Dallas rescuing Lilu numerous times. So yeah, I highly recommend that. I'm sure anyone entertained by this garbage will be equally or more entertained by that. And after Nightmare Creatures 2, they didn't have much going on. They didn't last much longer. 2002 was their final game, 2 years after this game. That game was titled Castleween in Europe. In America, it was called, like, Spirits and Spells, I think. A much worse name. It's Castleween. And it's like, it's an action game. I don't know too much about the specific genre. It seems to be like one of those really terrible generic platformers. Just from the description, it really reminded me of 40 Winks, if anyone is familiar with that game. Where you have a male protagonist and a female protagonist, they're little kids, dressed up in Halloween costumes, and they have to save their friends who have been turned to stone by demons. It is very poorly received. It has very low ratings on things that rate video games. Little secret area with an extra blood bag, which I quite needed. We seem to have something like a giant alien egg. And it's got a color. It's vaguely purplish. Don't see colors too often, so that's interesting at least. Ah, there's one that is an albino alien egg, and we must approach it. This one is a new enemy type. The rest of them aren't, but this one is. It's a banana peel enemy, like the ones from Splatterhouse. Those were called the Aegis. And their gimmick was to make everybody invincible. These don't really have a gimmick. Kind of an unimpressive fatality, but at least he didn't just repeatedly use the axe on it. Yeah, it's just another hardy variant of the typical zombies with numerous interruption attacks. Looking like I'm gonna die again. Ooh, but I didn't. The squid died first. And another one appeared. So what we gotta do... Several things we gotta do in this room, actually. Probably won't let me hit this because there's an enemy about. Yeah. Sometimes it does, but apparently that's a glitch. And you know glitches in this game. Can never do them twice. Health refill. Those are always nice. And there's a key around here somewhere. I guess we'll look for it after I kill this thing. There we go. Combat mode refused to activate. This is a pretty typical fight. Not too much to it. I guess I should note that Callisto didn't just decide to stop making games. They... apparently their founder, Nicholas Gaume, was lying to stockholders about the value of the company and ended up having to pay something to the tune of 200 grand to investors, which is still unpaid. It's a debt that is still being sought by the government. And yet, Gaume still holds his position as the president of the French Legion of Video Games. The French Union of Video Games, not the Legion. So, fairly shady business we're dealing with here. Quite unsuccessful. Tried desperately to keep it together anyway. Wasn't gonna turn out too well for them without put like this and Castleween. And the Fifth Element. I don't think anyone played the Fifth Element besides the one person who did the Let's Play of it. That locked door we're heading back for is quite a ways back, too. I'm sure I could ignore these. Yeah. Should be able to get far enough away to fight a different one. This one is definitely blocking the door, though. If I die, it'll send me all the way back to where I got this key. I'm pretty sure. And this is why I wanted to avoid optional combat encounters. Because there are very few items in this level. And the combat has gotten rather life-threatening. And Wallace's walk speed is really bad. So this backtracking takes a while. So here's the pit. 2 squids. Just tank my way through it. Be on our way. There's like no way to do combos on these things. When you manage, you can cut their arms off. That's always fun. But we made it to the promised land. With another enemy in it. Certainly one we can handle, though. In fact, they've done this little intro animation before. That exact one where we interrupt a meal. Get the head off. And kill it. So, we just got an item that we got at the beginning of the level. And then obviously I died a million times, so I lost it. It looks the same as the Hellfire, but it's different. So we're going to use it as soon as we get over here. As soon as this combat activates, okay. So it turns out, when I said the weapon switching was glitched, it's sort of true. It doesn't work great, but I was using the wrong button as well, so that was part of the problem. So this thing, this little spinning, fiery crown looking thing, let's use it. We don't get iframes when we're trying to use items, but it sets our axe on fire. It's kind of like the Berserk from the first game. The best item in the first game. Makes our attacks more likely to cut off limbs. Rather capable of cutting off limbs without even using a combo. And effectively unblockable, uninterruptible. Makes combat a lot more fun. Especially against defensive enemies like this thing. So now we've got a gun to use as soon as we get on top of the platform with the door we opened up. That'll speed things up. In fact, once we get really inside the castle, which is where we're headed right now, things speed up quite a bit. Super hard to just use weapons because you don't get the iframes. Criminal. But now we're getting to the meat of the level. Tried to use my gun. Big mistake. But we all know what tracing grounds look like. Why would it start me back here? Why is that a checkpoint? So that sucked. But I did manage to cut that farmer clean in half. Which you can't really tell because the character model sort of goes invisible once it's chopped off. But that's his torso there. And now, we get to bolt cut our way into the next section. Mercifully. So... this is actually quite creepy. Crowley decided to hang one of his zombies. Don't know why. It offended him somehow. Think we go this way first. It's a bit confusing, but we're gonna have to end up going every single way. Ultimately, there are no optional routes in this level. So we got our key. Yeah, this was definitely the right way. Don't have much use for that blood yet. I may have to take a pit stop after we use this key. I do forget that gate at the top, it can't hurt you even though it's spiky, but it will stick to you. Once you physically touch it, you have to turn around 180 degrees and go the exact opposite direction, because you cannot move in any other direction. So we got our key, then we want to go up here. We can't grab onto that section, so we have to go to this side, which has one spot that is flat enough for us to grab onto. And then it's got one of these guys holding his crate, ready to Donkey Kong us, which is not an attack. That cannot hurt us. Can't get us with that crate. And he's in the cycle. There's one we fought earlier who was standing in front of a log. Problem is, once you start the cycle, he can go through the log. So you'll eventually knock him too far away, break the cycle, and he'll get away from you. He'll be on the outside. You'll be looking in. And he'll see through you. See your true colors. I think that's on Break the Cycle. I haven't listened to Stained in over a decade. Legitimately creepy new animation. Which means we'll probably end up fighting another one of these things once we get back out to the courtyard. I do appreciate that the fatality on them is very quick. Totally useless, but very quick. Optional enemy. Knock her down. And get caught in the geometry. So, optional, not so much. The hitbox is simply too wide. But that's definitely optional. Oh wait, we can't jump when there's an enemy around. I forgot about that. Even when we're in exploration mode. Alas. Can't do anything now. Now we can jump. Get to see the cutscene again, but this time it's not actually in a cutscene. So we could move around, check it out from different angles. And gonna make that pit stop. Fill up on blood. And indeed, it did fill me up. Nice. Maybe I won't die again this video. That'd be nice. We swim faster than we doggy paddle across the surface. Now if I don't activate combat, then I'll be able to jump. Ah, I activated combat. And I don't think I'll be able to break it now. But let's try. Yep. Edge guarding me. Get back in your grave. Or back in the gallows would have been nice. Should have never dropped off. So now we're getting to the next big fetch quest. Crowley just doesn't want people going through his castle, so he hides things inside of things. Makes you go through each one separately. I don't need that blood yet. This room also has a cutscene over here at this desk.
Crowley was certainly up to no good again. His organization was not merely a band of inept acolytes. It was a huge network that spread far beyond the shores of England. As for Crowley, one of these documents indicated that he was not in England anymore. The enemy had left for Paris in order to oversee some blasphemous plot.
So it turns out, this game doesn't care about London at all. And after this level, we shan't be in London anymore. We're taking the show on the road. Because Crowley's already done so. He's, as usual, a step ahead of us. So we gotta catch up to him. In, I believe the map indicated Paris. Of course it'd be France, because these are French developers. What do they care about English history, but they know their own. All the way back here is a gigantic cog. We'll need that, I assume. We can also item switch between our key items for no good reason. I'm actually not sure why I have that key. Pretty sure that's the one that opened the door all the way near the beginning of the tunnel. Now these textures here are not doors. They look like doors, but they're not. Over here, there's a jar of flies just hanging out in the air. Definitely gonna want that, because that's one of the best items. Makes enemies burst. Once I mess up my combo inputs once, this nothing fight becomes an actual fight. But now we got the arm off, we're good to go. Guess we did need that key. I'm sure we picked that up somewhere along the way. And it was incredibly interesting. Behind this book is a ladder with a thing. I don't know what you'd call this thing, but it's a key item. Got some bullets. Hey, Gory's back. Good old Gory. I'm not going to use the Gory Ultrasound. As demonstrated, it is terrible and ear-splitting and blinding. What were they even thinking with this item? But it's nice to see Gory. We shouldn't want to, throw him at enemies. He's our friend. It is kind of nice when you can get enemies on a different level from yourself, because their attacks will not hit you when they try to retaliate. There's no real reliable way to make it happen, but when it does happen, it benefits you. So, knock over the grill, get ourselves another flaming axe, because that is an excellent and quite fun item. And now where do we go? This stumped the hell out of me for a really long time. I went back and forth all through the level. Wasted so much time. Oh, look at this banquet, though. Would have missed this. Hey, it looks kind of like Gory. Gory's brother. Ready to be eaten. So what we need to do is notice this. If we climb on this table, we can later climb up here. But we don't want to do that yet. That's bad. So we go over to the stew, we investigate the stew, nothing happens, break the chairs in frustration. Then, hopefully, by some miracle, we notice that this little pillar over in the corner is slightly discolored compared to the rest of the blocks. And we walk over to it, and we press A. That is ridiculous. Who would ever think to do that? Anyone who wants to complete this video game would have to do that. I can't imagine who would want to complete it, but gotta figure that out. Brutal. But now we can climb up here. In the other hard-to-find area. And we picked up some new items along the way. If we were to head back, try to backtrack and see what we missed, there would be enemy respawns indicating that there is new content back the way we came, but that is not the case. Just playing some mind games with us. Really hoping we're not going to find that pillar in the corner so as to pad out game length. I should note at this point that in the manual, there is a tip line that you can call. And doing so will get you all the info you need about how to complete Nightmare Creatures 2. I am certain they put that little puzzle there just to get your 99 cents a minute, begging for how to get through this level. That's always satisfying. So over here is what we needed all of those items for. Put down this thing that I still don't know what it is, but it works as a base for the gear. Then we need the lever to actually make the gear turn. Now that I'm looking at it, we put the base on first, but the gear goes on the other side of it. So that was inefficient, Wallace. Just made life harder on yourself. So we're out of the castle now. Made it past the drawbridge. I guess we went backwards through the castle? Because drawbridges are usually indicative of an entrance. In my mind, at least. There's just a few more enemies. And then a second castle. That was weird. Canceled my jump. Didn't want me coming up here. I believe we can plummet to our death from this area. I will certainly try not to do that. It is quite easy to avoid, though. And that might have been the last enemy? Yeah, I believe so. Because There's but one thing inside this secondary castle. He built this whole brick and mortar monstrosity to enclose this horrible, writhing flesh man with a bunch of extra limbs. And then he tied him to the ceiling, so he can't do anything. He's exactly the same as the last boss fight, really. We have to approach him, be the aggressor. But his arms are very, very long. And they break free once we get him to 1/3 health. 2/3 health, really. So we just keep hammering on him. Get him down to the aforementioned 1/3 health. Then he'll fully break free of his cross. I think that was a middle finger he was going for there. But also his legs are still attached, so he's not coming for us, but he does have a ridiculous reach at this point. So he can hold the cross with one arm and reach out with his other very long arm. Get us anytime we get close. And we can't use items. We have to hit him a million times. Yeah, I honestly don't know how to hit him at this point. I usually perform better than this. This is ridiculous. Nice thing about dying during a boss fight is you respawn at the boss fight with the same amount of HP. So, we can try again immediately. There we go. Once you get in there, he's done for. You can still break your combo, like all enemies can. Not gonna save him. He's dead. Then we look all around for the next way to go, and we find a little gore tunnel that we've decided to leap down. I really thought the Rob Zombie music would play during the boss fights. That has not yet been the case at all. This game has 9 Rob Zombie songs and 2 additional remixes of those songs. So there's a total of 11 Rob Zombie songs. Nowhere near 11 levels. So I don't know where all the songs ended up, but we'll hear another one in the opening cutscene of the next level, I guess. Seems a bit of a waste. But I mentioned at the beginning of this LP that if you're going to watch the Nightmare Creatures 1 LP, be cautious that it sort of has found its way to become intertwined with current world events in a potentially disturbing way. But this game was merciful in that it does not do that. That ends in the next video. Next time, real world horrors enter the plot of Nightmare Creatures 2. Check out that Fifth Element LP, because that's fun. That won't be torturous. This game may become torturous as we go over to Paris and enter the world of fascism. See you there, maybe. Although I would understand if you don't want to join me for that.